Now that we've made the account, we need to learn how to use the website so you will be prepared for the workshops that will happen. So when you first open it, you will have the starting screen with this giant window in front of you. And what you need to do is click on New Design, and that's where you start off with. And you want to make sure to change this unit from pixels to inches, because that is the measurement that we will be using. And you will get the width and height of your project in the workshops. And once you've done all that, you just click Create, and that brings you to this page. This will be our main page of the website where we will be doing most of our design and projects for the laser cut workshops. The tools that you will use will be located on this top row and on the right side of the screen. And this middle portion is called the canvas, and that is what you will be editing and adding stuff to create your project. So the first tool that we start off with is called the pointer tool, and it lets us interact with objects in our canvas and lets you move things around and readjust the shapes of the things in your project. The tool to the right of that is called the shapes tool, and you are able to make certain shapes out of the options over here. For example, let's say we want to make an ellipse. We click and drag to create the shape, and then we let go, and the shape appears in front of us. The tool after that is called the pen tool, and this lets us create custom shapes. If you click and drag, it will let you make curves. But if you just move the tool around without clicking and dragging, then you'll get a straight line. And using that, you can create shapes of your choice. The next tool that we'll be using is called the knife tool, and this lets us add vertexes to the shape of our choice. So we will be able to create two pieces or more from one shape. And the cool thing is we can move one of these pieces around. So basically we can create two shapes from one. Our next tool will be the text tool, and we click on this and drag to create a text box, and in this text box we can type whatever we want. And in order to change the font or size of this text, you have to select it, go to appearance on this side, and choose one of these drop downs right here. To change the size, you can increase it to 60, for example. And yeah, that's what the text tool is. The tool after this is called a place image tool, and using this we can bring in an image that is located on our desktop into our canvas to edit, so it can be part of our main project. We can do that by clicking this drop down arrow right here and click place. So now we're on to the next section of our tools, and as you can see, these are grayed out because we are not able to use them now. The only way we can use them is to select a certain image that or shape that we have in our canvas, and as you can see, that makes them applicable. So these two flip the shape. For example, this flips it horizontally and this flips it vertically. And these two rotate it. This one rotates left and this one rotates right. These two tools are called the group and ungroup tools. These let you select a bunch of shapes and make them all into one. For example, if we select these three things right here, and if we group these items together, any change that we do to one of them will be applied to all of them. So if we increase the size of it, all of them will have their size increased. But if you want to ungroup certain items, you press this ungroup, and you can individually edit these items again. The next tool that we're using will help us create compound shapes, and the way we do it is by selecting two shapes and overlapping them. And if we highlight both of them and choose the union, it turns the overlap region into part of one shape. But instead, if we want to do the subtract function, it gets rid of one shape and then leaves an indent of that shape in the second one. So now to look at the other option, the intersect tool, it lets us keep the overlap region but gets rid of the other regions of the two shapes. And the difference tool, which is the opposite of that, it gets rid of the overlap region and gives us the not overlapping regions. Now that we've learned about the tools on the top, we should learn about the tools on the right of our screen under our Inspector tab, and these let us make precise changes to the shapes in our canvas. For example, if we click this ellipse here, we can change its X and Y position, which moves it around in this canvas, or we can change its width and height. So since we're working in inches, if we want this sphere or ellipse to be 10 inches in real life, we can change this number to 10, and you can see that stretches out the shape. Also, what we can do to this shape is we can change its angle, which rotates the shape. For example, let's say we want to make it stay upright. We type 90 here, and it turns upright. Another thing that we can do is we can change the smoothness of a shape. For example, if we add a rectangle here, we can change the corner under appearance, and that smooths out the edges of the shape. So this is good for designing and all, but what we're doing is we're making a project that we could laser cut. And two things that laser cutters can do is they can engrave stuff and they can cut stuff through. And in order to tell laser cutters to cut this certain shape, what we must do is we must select the shape, and first we need to get rid of its fills or the inside of it, and we do that by going to this fills tab right here and changing this number right here to a 0%, and that makes it transparent. And we have to add a border by going to this borders tab right here and clicking this plus, and we need to select this red right here, and that tells the laser cutter to cut this exact shape through the material that we're using. Another thing we can tell laser cutters to do is to engrave things, and we can do that by selecting a certain shape and changing its fills to black, and that tells the laser cutter to engrave this into the material instead of cutting it through. And by doing these two things, we can control what the laser cutter does to our project. Now that we have our project, we need to learn to save this. So just in case something happens and you're kicked off, we don't want to lose any of our work. So what you do is you go to the top left to the Save Your Document, and you either save it to your computer or you save it to the cloud. Saving to your computer will be preferable, as you will always be able to access it and it is easier to send information that way.